this whole thing comes to behavior change. It's all psychology, because I think this is really where the game is won or lost. I did a talk at a Traders Expo one year as a guest speaker. And the first thing I said was, all right, we're here at this great Trader Expo. We got all this great software. We got all these great things. None of it's going to work because you suck.
Robb Reinhold is a professional trader, author, and the head of Maverick Trading.
He is known as one of the US's experts in spread trading of equity options and other options strategies.
I really feel like I have a very unique perspective of what it takes to make it in this business. Most people, it takes about 5 to 7 years until they really get that out of their system to where they just trade methodically and trade their system.
What is it do you feel separates the traders who can last this long?
We all think we're smart. We all think we're great. We all think we can beat the market somehow. And you know what? It's all about.
Wow, this number really blows my mind. Over 75% of you who watch the show regularly are not subscribed. If you enjoy the show and want to support us, the easiest and also free way is just to hit that subscribe button. This will help us find new and better guests, and I promise you to continue to work at making this show better and bringing you more value. Welcome back, everybody, to Be the Trader. Today is going to be a great day because I have my man Robb Reinhold here, who's been trading for over 27 years, and he's the head trader of Maverick Trading. Robb, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks, Alice. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. You know, we kind of started talking off camera, and I kind of want to pick up there of, you know, you've been trading for 27 plus years, man. And to me, that's a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for people who can trade that long. Because, you know, I've been around 8 years and it took me like 4.5 to really see progress. I mean, 3.5 to make some kind of money, but 4.5 to really see progress. And just a lot of respect, man. So just curious, you know, what is it do you feel separates the traders who can last this long?
Well, that is a great trading, and that's a great journey. And, you know, I've gone through it myself, but I'm in a very unique situation where over the past 20 years when I've run a prop firm, I literally see people come in. I literally see every different style of trading. I'm watching over their shoulder, watching every trade that rolls through. And I really feel like I have a very unique perspective of what it takes to make it in this business. And, you know, we all think we're smart. We all think we're great. We all think we can beat the market somehow. And you know what? It's all about consistency. It's all about consistency and not being an idiot. And it takes, at least I see most people, it takes about 5 to 7 years until they really get that out of their system to where they just trade methodically and trade their system. And then from there, it's much easier. But those first couple of years, ups and downs and all the emotions, and you think you've got it several times. You think you found the holy grail. I mean, Alex, how many times have you thought you found the holy grail of systems and setups?
Right? That's for the first 3 years, that's all you're looking for.
Yep. It doesn't exist. It's not out there.
It isn't. And it's funny you hit on consistency. And you mentioned a while back in another show when you were interviewed, consistency beats intelligence, something like that. So dive a little deeper into that and what you mean by that. Because I know a lot of traders are, you know, maybe there's a lot of new ones and they're just seeking that next best strategy. Would that be considered the intelligence part? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I think I always say that the market it's a engineering problem. And it's an engineering problem where you literally have to backtest your system, test your system, correct your system. And it's an engineering problem that needs to be solved over time. When I got into this business, I just thought I could figure it out up here. Hey, I just needed to figure it out up here and I could make it. And I didn't really understand that it just takes a long time to get those pieces all worked out. And then after that, it's a matter of just being consistent, staying consistent, you know, believing in your system, but also being flexible enough to where when your system, you know, the markets are constantly changing, you know, and AI is really getting into a lot of trading things now where it's changing a lot of things. You do still have to be flexible and be willing to change your system over time.
You know, you also mentioned the old idea of like you get the privilege to stand over other traders' shoulders and watch them develop. And so I'm assuming it's a traditional prop firm, correct? Like kind of like you bring people in, they trade the prop firm's money. Is that kind of thing?
Yeah, correct. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely, I guess, old school prop. I know a lot of the new challenges,
right?
Where
That's
people
different.
come in and do the challenges. No, we put a lot of work into training. We put a lot of work into mentoring and getting people over that hump to where they can be profitable.
I want to take a couple of seconds to say thank you to our sponsor, Cobra Trading. Cobra Trading is the go-to broker for short sellers. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, Benzinga awarded Cobra Trading as the go-to broker for short selling. And Forbes Advisor did an exhaustive research on day trading brokers. And Cobra Trading was the only broker awarded in 2 categories, one of them being customer service. They have a heavy focus on direct market access order routing, so you have the fastest execution. They have some of the best locate prices and availability. Look, I've experienced many different brokers, and it's why I choose to use them every single day, and I'm proud to have them as our sponsor. Sign up now by using the link below, and Cobra Trading will give you 100 days of free commission, 3 months of free software, and 33% off commission for life. Now let's get back to the show. So in doing that, have you seen anyone kind of expedite that process where you say 4 to 5 years? Have you seen a couple of people kind of get there sooner and overcome, some of those challenges earlier to be consistent? Just curious.
The answer to that is yes. And I believe it is 100% personality. 100%. And I tell all my recruiters when we're looking for people, we meet a lot of smart people. We meet a lot of dynamic people. And I tell them, give me someone who can follow rules. Give me someone who is disciplined and can follow rules and is patient. And that's really the key to it. So the people that are more like that, they actually can shorten the process. Here's the problem. Trading doesn't attract personalities like that very much.
It doesn't.
They attract personalities like me and you. There's like, we like the fast stuff. We like the excitement. We like all that. And so we're the personalities that are really attracted to this business, and we have all the flaws to get through.
The disciplines ones are like,
yes.
I'm not messing with that. They're disciplined enough to not.
Yeah, exactly. The irony of it.
Yeah, that's funny. So with the few, it's mostly comes down to discipline. Is there any tips that you would have for people who struggle in that area? And when you say discipline, in what way do you mean discipline?
It's simply anytime you deviate from your system, it's a mistake. Even if it was profitable, even if it made you money, even if it turned out to be right, any deviation from your system is a mistake. So, we like automation, do a lot of automation in some of your trading. If you're really bad at the exits, and that's where most people struggle. Most people hold their losers too long. They cut their winners too early. That's really where the emotional problems come in. So we always talk about, hey, why don't you just automate that? Why don't you just set some rules, automate it, let the exit take care of itself. You just do all your work on the entries and just let the exit take them out of the trade.
Could you give some examples for those listening who might be looking for ideas on how to exit better, to get them thinking in the right direction at least?
Yeah, and this is where I want to bring up my experiment I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Called the Flat Earth Trading Society. And when I was coming up with it, well, let me go back. When I started trading, I heard a story years ago. This is like in the late 90s. So the internet were around. There were a few books on trading. And I heard a story about 2 traders who had the premise that it didn't matter how you chose stocks. All that mattered was how you managed them. Sell the losers, hold the winners. So for their first month, they hung up the Wall Street Journal pages on the wall through darts. Whatever stock the dart hit, they flipped a coin. Heads they went long, tails they went short. And I think they did something like an 8% stop or something pretty basic on that. And they did that every single month for, I think, 18 months, and they were profitable every single month. I have scoured the internet looking for that. And a few people have reached out and said, hey, that's the turtle traders, which I think it was the turtle traders.
Yep.
But there is no data. No one has the data of that experiment. Like, I want to know what stock was it? What was the date?
Right.
What was the
Otherwise,
strategy?
it's just like,
It's a cute story.
Yeah.
It's a nice story, but I wanted the data. So I started the Flat Earth Trading Experiment on YouTube. And I called it Flat Earth Trading Society because I wanted it to be, controversial. And I made a big mistake because I named it Flat Earth Trading Society. And you'll see that every video on YouTube has a disclaimer that the earth is not flat and that you need to be careful about it. And I'm sure I never showed up on the algorithm at
That's
all
hilarious.
because of that, but it is what it is. But the experiment I wanted to do, and what we did is we started in July of 2023, and we are going to do 100 trades. And I was going to do random entries. And I thought, let's have some fun with it. I did Scrabble tiles where I just turned over Scrabble tiles on my desk. I got a Ouija board, let the spirits move me around, just all sorts of random methods. We chose a stock, either went long or short, and we just completely automated the exit with a trailing stop, a very simple 2x ATR trailing stop. Just a very simple system. And we ran this all the way to July of 2024. It took us a full year, and we documented every single entry. Like every single entry was done live on YouTube. The exits were just, they took care of themselves. So we updated every single trade. So you go on there, I think there's about 300 or 400 videos.
Oh, there's
every single trade is documented, and it's out there now for history to see. So if you want to know how big of a deal position management is, go check out that experiment because it shows you that random entries can work. I'm not saying it's a good strategy. You should do more than random entries.
Yeah.
But I just really wanted to show how important that was in trading.
So someone's going to hear this and they're going to be like 100 trades a whole year. How active were y'all into this? Like just curious, like what was the criteria in some way to only do 100 in 1 year? Just curious.
It really was time. The time that it takes to do this, and the time it takes to make videos. And luckily, early on, I thought I could do this myself, and I found out very quickly that it was a bigger thing than I could handle. So I got a couple of my other traders at Maverick Trading, and they made a bunch of videos. I'd say, hey, I'm going to make the trades. You guys take these all the way through to the end. Anytime there was an adjustment of a stop or anything like that, they took care of it. So it was really more of a time thing. And I kind of wanted to shoot for 2 to 3 a week. I thought that was reasonable. And that's kind of what it ended up being. But it was really just when I had time is when I made a trade. There was no set schedule or anything.
Okay. And what about going long or short? Because you just said, yeah, I'll pick a stock and go long or short. Like, how did you determine that with some sort of set of rules as well?
Yes. So I love that question because as much as I wanted it to be random, I also wanted it to be profitable.
Yeah.
So I did one very, very simple technical analysis rule, and it was simply the slope of a 13 EMA on a daily chart.
Okay.
That was it. So we're big trend trading believers at Maverick. It's really like we're big believers in that. There's so much data out there on trend following that does give you an edge. It truly does. It's one of the most studied things in trading, and it has been proven to give you an edge. So we wanted to follow trend trading. So that was the simple rule, whether to go long or short. If the 13 EMA was sloping up, it was a long. If it was down, it was short. If it was sideways, we threw that one out and chose a new one.
Cool. And then the pick of a stock was just random, just letters, picking
Totally
random.
random.
Now,
yeah, go through all the videos. We used, like on Friday, I was pulled up some news story and did a random trade off a news story. We did, some fantasy football stuff, some March Madness stuff. Just it got boring after, you can only flip over Scrabble tiles so many times, and I didn't totally trust the Ouija boards.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what's interesting is you brought this up to explain how important it is to really, it sounds like, modify your exit or have good exits. Because I was asking earlier about how someone could expedite that learning curve. And so could you elaborate, now that we understand the flat earth experiment, how they could use that information and expedite their learning curve?
Yes. I love that question because, I think that is a question that a lot of people have in the beginning. And I wish I even had the foresight to ask that question in the beginning. But remember, I was smart.
Yeah.
So I could figure it out. If you talk to any seasoned trader, they'll say stuff to you like trading is all risk management. And as a new trader, you get it, but you don't really get it. And I say things like the only thing that really matters is position sizing.
Mhm.
And people say, well, what about all these other things? Once you've been trading long enough and talked to a long time trader, everyone knows where all the mistakes in trading are made is on the exit. It's very easy. And actually, they have done studies. And I love trading psychology so much because that's all I've studied over the past 10 to 15 years. Uh, one of the studies they did is they took people and they had them play blackjack. And they hooked them up to an MRI machine and they measured their brain activity. And when they were just playing blackjack with no money on the line, just playing it, all of the brain activity was in their frontal cortex, where logic and reason and decisions are made. And then they gave them money. And once they started playing with money, the activity in the front of the brain was diminished and the activity in the insula was heightened to where they were literally using a different place in their brain in order to make decisions. Now, they all thought they were making correct decisions and non emotional decisions. And as traders, we all think we're logical in every single time we click a button.
Yeah.
But you literally are using the wrong part of your brain.
Hmm.
And, as a young trader, you just don't even know that or understand that. You think you just keep making the same mistake and you think that you're not disciplined. And we beat ourselves up. I mean, I remember just beating myself up over and over and over again. And when I finally came to the realization where I said, you're never going to get this. You're never going to stop making these mistakes. You're an idiot. You're a true idiot. And I said, well, how am I going to trade in spite of that? And that is really the key, is to where you no longer think you can beat this, all your flaws through discipline. And you start creating systems to where you just avoid those situations at all times. One of my big flaws was after a long string of winners. Oh man, I was the worst trader at that moment, but I was the most full of confidence. I just had all these winners, just made all this money, and I would give it all back over and over and over again. And I'm like, hey, why don't you stop doing this? So to stop me, I actually had a little token I had to sign into my account
Okay.
with a code. And I gave this code to my wife, this little token. I said, do not give this to me until next Monday. No matter what I say, don't give it to me. She's like, okay. A couple days later, I'm like, hey, that thing I gave you, I really need it. She's like, well, you said not to give it to me. I'm like, I know, but I really need it. And she gave it to me. Sure enough, I gave all the money back. I mean, this is like, understand, like, this is addict personality.
Yep.
This is what it is. It's addiction personality. And the next time I told her, okay, I just blew it. You cannot give it back to me no matter what I say. And the next time she did not bend, and I tried probably once or twice more. And that was what I had to do to overcome my overtrading. And it's things like that, because we all think just be more disciplined.
Yep.
If you could have done it, you would have already done it.
People were going to hear that too and be like, man, it's, I am that person. I'm that person who's constantly saying like, next time, you know what? I knew I should have taken that. Yeah, next time. And so, you gave your example of how you overcame yours. Have you used something similar with other traders on the floor or who trade with you guys? Or if not, have you used something different that you can share as well?
Oh, absolutely. So this whole thing comes to behavior change. And like I said, all I do is study psychology now. I have not read a trading book in probably 15 years, probably 10 or 15 years. It's all psychology, because I think this is really where the game is won or lost. And so there are things that we can't handle or we can't change on our own. And so you have to get into behavior change. And if you really study behavior change, it's a very difficult process, and it doesn't happen overnight. I did a talk at a Traders Expo one year as a guest speaker, and I came on, and the first thing I said was, all right, we're here at this great Trader Expo. We got all this great software. We got all these great things. None of it's going to work. because you suck.
Mm.
And I was silent for about 5 seconds. And everyone was just looking around like, what did this guy just say? And I said, look, no, I'm not attacking you because I suck. Let me tell you about myself. I'm a chronic overtrader. Uh, I get too aggressive after a long string wins. Like it was like an Alcoholics Anonymous
Yep.
meeting of me saying, "Hey, look, this is me. This is who I am. I can't change this." And until you like really get to that point, then you can start with behavior change. And for me, overtrading was a really big thing. I'm a big extrovert. I I'm always having music in my if I'm walking around, there's always music in my ears. I love stimulation. I love loud music and flashy lights and everything. So trading for me just drew me in and I couldn't not click a button. So I had to cut the stimulus somehow, and I did that by again giving a token to my wife.
Yep.
So again, for other traders, things like well, I'm just trying to think of all the possible things a trader can struggle with. Under trading is one.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like,
Under trading,
possibly if there was another way for someone to overcome the bad habits, like besides like giving a token to your wife, and is there another? And if there is, that's fine. But if there's another way that a strategy you implement it with some of the traders you help and your firm, just curious.
I think first of all, having an accountability partner
Mm.
is a really big thing. We talk about that. We talk about if you have a spouse and you keep breaking a rule, maybe you and your spouse sit down on Sundays and you go over your rules. And if you blew them, you had to tell your spouse, hey, you know what,
That's what
I
I
blew
did.
them again. And
That's what I did.
yeah,
I
that's
would. I
great.
talked to her
That's
every day, and
great.
she'd be like, "How'd you trade today?" I'm like, she'd be like, "No. Did you trade well, or did you execute according to your rules, or did you not?" Like, because I would say, "Oh, I had a green day."
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
No,
funny.
an accountability partner is probably the biggest thing I can say. And if you don't have someone in your life, there's people online. There's a great community of people online looking not only to help you but to be helped by you.
Yep.
Reach out for people. Reach out. It really helps. One of the things I tell people, if you're having a hard time being accountable, post your results
Mm.
online. Go online, start a thread of being like, hey,
Yep.
I'm going to post all my results and I want you to roast me if I F up. Do that. Go online and people will help you out. I mean, it might be a little harsh sometimes.
Yeah.
The internet is anonymous, so
Right.
people are a little bit more harsh. But it's anything you can do because you can't do it alone. I shouldn't say you can do it alone, but you can't do it through discipline. And the way that behavior change works, and I'm going to go back to the Alcoholics Anonymous um, uh, theory there. You're always going to be an alcoholic. I'm always going to be an overtrader. That's who I am. It's in my nature. And for the first part, I would just try to not overtrade in the day. And when I had a good day, I was like, pat myself on the back. When I screwed up, I was like, okay. And then I kept working on it. And it's really about being self-aware. If you know you're an overtrader, be constantly worried about it. My old computer monitors, remember when you had the big frame around the old computer
Yeah.
monitors? I'm old school. So my entire thing was covered with stickers from a label maker. And every mistake I would make, I would print out a sticker and put it on my monitor. So I would see it as I was clicking the button, like, hey, don't do this.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the sticker. Gosh, should I do it?
Right.
It's just being self-aware. And here's a great thing is that I went from making a mistake a day to a mistake a week to a mistake a month
Yes.
to a mistake a quarter to a mistake a year. And then the last major trading mistake I made was in 2008.
And that correlates with your success too. Like it's the less mistakes you make, the more you will make in the end.
Yeah. Well, it's the only thing that matters. Your system is your system. You've tested it. If you can follow that system, it should perform for you over time.
You've mentioned a couple of times too, man, which is really something I want to highlight here because a lot of new traders probably are not talking to themselves this way or kind of like beating around the bush of like how disciplined they are or where their weaknesses are. But you said it twice now. Like I came to the realization that, I suck at this. I'm this kind of person. Like you were very real with yourself. So then that way you can build a system that fits that instead of trying to fight
Yeah.
trying to fight that. Um,
Yeah.
how do you build a system that helps you not continue to take trades that aren't good setups? Just curious, just so someone can be thinking that and you can help them with that.
Well, that's another great question. And I'm going to point everyone to a personality test. We posted a trading personality test online. This is something we've done at Maverick Trading for 15, 20 years. I mean, no one was talking about trading personalities back in 2007. First thing we had our traders do is take a Myers-Briggs personality test. And then we developed our own one around trading questions. If you go to tradingpersonalitytests with an s.com, and maybe you can give everyone a link too, you can go in and take the quiz for free. And it's basically the Myers-Briggs, if you know what the Myers-Briggs personality test is, in trading form. And it actually will give you your strengths and weaknesses based on your personality. So I already know if you are a strong introvert, overtrading is not your problem. Undertrading is. And hesitation is going to be your problem. And so if you know that going into it, if you go in and you take your test, you get the results, and you're like, yeah, this is pretty damn accurate. This is me. All of a sudden, if you know that, okay, hesitation is an issue for me, automate entries. Automate entries. If you're not going to become not hesitant at 31 years old, whatever you are,
Right.
42, and if you're like 70, you're definitely not going to change that about you. So
That's really good.
understand, hey, I hesitate. I hesitate all the time. Take that away from you because you're not good at it. Automate those entries. And then if you're good at the exits, maybe you do manual exits. So again, work with what you have. But the first thing you have to do is you have to become brutally honest with yourself and what you can do. And the great thing is when you build a system that fits you like a glove, and that's at Maverick, we tell everyone, you can't trade like me. I can't trade like you. You have to build your own system because there are some things that are in my system that you will never be able to follow because it's going to kill you inside. Your anxiety is going to be going crazy, or it's going to be too boring. Like, oh, it's so boring. How can I possibly do this? Build it for you. The great thing is when you build it for you, there's a lot less battles to fight because you've built your system around who you are to where if you never have to fight the battle of overtrading or the battle of hesitation, then it becomes so much easier to not even fight the battle.
What I'm curious about is with what you just said earlier is, develop the system. You have your traders at your prop firm, and you mentioned that they're all kind of developing their own system themselves that fits like a glove. So what I'm curious about is, how do they learn though in the beginning? Are they trying to learn? Like, are they sitting with each trader? Are they learning different styles? Like, how would you recommend someone go about learning the process of trading when they are new?
Great question. Backtesting and building systems. When I got into trading, it was the Wild West, and there was like 2 books, and you couldn't even get internet in your house. I had to go downtown to an office where there's a T1 line in, and you just literally showed up, learned a couple things about a chart, and you clicked a few buttons. Obviously, that's a big roller coaster. Had some big wins and big losses. And then over time, you start to realize, like, hey, I need to make a system. Trading is system building, period. As I said earlier, trading is an engineering problem. There's 2 things. You have to master the engineering problem, and you have to master the psychological problem. The engineering problem is simply building systems, testing them, A/B testing them, demo testing them, put a little bit of money on it, real world test it, go back, fix the things that didn't do well. It is a process. Building systems is trading. People don't understand. They think trading is showing up, putting some money in and clicking some button and buying Tesla or shorting dollar yen, whatever. No. Trading is building a system that will actually have an edge, period.
Do you feel like they're equal weighted, the engineering and the psychology? Because there's a big debate online always about it. So just curious what your thoughts are.
I actually don't think, now that I think about it, I've never actually had that question. And when I think about it, if you don't have an edge, I don't care about your personality. Like whether you can follow rules or not, if you don't have an edge, what does it matter?
True.
So I definitely think that the engineering question needs to come first.
Mm.
It really needs to come first. And that's why, you don't want to go out and just fund your account right away with all the money you have. It's a process to get to the point where you actually can be trading with live money, and then you scale up from there. So I think the engineering problem has to be covered first.
Yep.
And that's where everyone does start and everyone should start. But once you start to get into demo trading, live trading, all of a sudden your engineering should be all figured out. Now it's going to be all psychology. And sadly, the psychology is much more difficult.
It is.
Than the engineering.
It's way harder. What I'm curious about, man, before we start to wrap this up, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to psychology, you mentioned that you don't really read trading books. Like, is there books that you recommend for traders who maybe want to learn more about like how their brain thinks, how they can improve on their own discipline or their psychology to become a
Absolutely.
better trader for those more advanced guys?
Yeah, the classic book is Mark Douglas' Trading in the Zone.
Oh, my favorite.
No, look, it's old. It's old and it's still relevant.
Oh, yeah.
But understand what we know about the brain today. And when was that book written? Like 2001, I think.
A long time ago, but it was a
2001.
great book. It still is.
It is like the best. And that's the first one I started out with. Like that is the book you should start out with. But we know so much more about how our brains work 25 years later after that book's been written.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books is called The Hour Between Dog and Wolf by John Coates. This is a guy who was a floor trader. He worked for a bank. And in these crises, he would see some traders would make the wrong decision. They would melt down, and some would make the right decision. And he was really interested about why some people had it and some people didn't. And so he went and got his neurology degree and figured out what happens when humans take risk, when they take financial risk. How do their brains work? And so the title of the book is kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde. Whereas, I can't remember which one is Jekyll and Hyde, but, one is you're rational.
Yep.
You can make good decisions. And then there's a point. So again, the hour between dog and wolf, there's a point where your prefrontal cortex is no longer in charge and you are no longer actually making logical, rational decisions. Even though you think you are, you're not. Just to understand that is great. Another good book is called The Behavioral Investor by Daniel Crosby. He takes lots of psychology studies, and I'll just give you this one study, and then we can, move on to other things, because I could talk about this for hours. So many studies I've read. It was about judges who were having parole hearings, people that had been in prison for 10 years, whether or not they'd get out. And they selected all the judges, had at least 10 years of experience, were very experienced judges. And they went through all of their rulings, and they found out that the harshest rulings, the least likely time someone would get paroled, was between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. and the most lenient they was from 1 to 2 p.m.
It's hungry.
And also from 9 in the morning till about 10. I think we all know where that's going. It's hunger. Can you imagine having to spend more years in prison because the judge was hungry? And here's the thing is we don't understand that that's how our bodies work. So when you show up tired, when you show up hungry,
good point.
When you show up not centered to your trading desk, you have no idea what chemicals are swirling in your body. And we think we're making rational decisions, but we're not. The chemicals are swirling. One last story, and then we'll.
Yeah, no, that was a really good
Like
point.
I said,
How you brought that to trading. I like that. So go ahead.
Over the years, I've seen traders who are really good and disciplined all of a sudden get wildly undisciplined. And I've learned, I get on the phone, I call them up, because most of the times I send a text or an email, but these are always phone calls. And they know the phone call is coming from the boss. I know it's coming. And they start talking about, no, I don't care about trading. I said, what's happening in your personal life? And every time they say, how did you know? Like, I'm going through a really nasty divorce,
Hmm.
or I'm having some health problems, and I'm like, look, you just can't be trading when you're not centered. Like, a big part of trading is when you show up, you've got to
You
be there.
have to be.
You've got to be there. And if you can't be there, just stay in cash. Just stay in cash. And that's another thing, being self-aware enough
Yes.
to know when you're not there. If you are having any sort of problems in your life, don't don't use trading as a crutch to try to fix that, because it's just going to get worse.
I'm glad you hit on that too, man, because that's so true. We are athletes, but like athletes of using the mind, and you
Hmm.
have like chess players. You got to be like on your game, because one slip and you lose, and it's checkmate.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
could be the same way of trading. One slip, one big mistake, and you could lose your account. So, look, man, I do want one more question for you, and I'm gonna ask this,
Okay.
and then we can wrap this up because I know people are gonna want to learn more about you, Rob, and want to know where to find out. But it's this: you mentioned earlier, we got when you were doing the flat Earth experiment. You wanted to make sure it was it was profitable, so you made sure you made one rule, and that was trend trading. Could you just explain, because you did say, it's been studied many times, like it's one way that does give you an edge, and someone might hear this and be like, man, like maybe I should look at trend trading. What's a good way for them to start that journey down the trend trading route?
I don't know any specific things. I'm going to go ahead and say that most systems that you will read about online are trend trading systems. They're inherently, I'm going to go ahead and say 70 to 80% of all systems that you will come across in the world of trading will be trend trading systems. There might be some counter trends, some reversal systems, there might be some scalping systems, but for the most part, I think you're just going to fall into it. If you
Hmm.
just get online and you start to look into trading systems, you're going to fall into it. I don't have anywhere specifically other than Google trend trading systems or trend trading proof.
Hmm.
For me, my personality is things need to be proven to me first. My wife will say to me all the time, like, she'll tell me something, and she's like, "Do you believe me?" I said, "Look, I fully believe that you think you're telling the truth, but I don't know if what you're saying is true.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
going to
good.
fact check you."
Yeah.
And because I'll fact check her. She's like, "Are you fact checking me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fact checking you." Like,
Yeah.
I got to make sure. Like, I
I
fully know
believe
you
you
think it's
believe
true.
it's true.
Yeah, but I just don't know if it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
For me, I can't buy into something until I have that proof, and then once I have the proof, then it's
Hmm.
100%. So I'd say maybe the first place to go is go read all the studies.
Hmm.
Go pull up some studies. Like I said, this has been so studied. I mean, there's so many studies out there that show it does have an edge. Show that it does, and then learn some trend trading systems, and then it's just the process of building systems, back testing it, putting in a different indicator, pulling one out, A/B testing, see which one performs better. And then you just start the process of building your system.
Well, look, Rob, man, I know people are going to have a lot more questions than I just asked, and they're going to want to learn more about you. Could you take a quick moment and let them know how they can learn more?
All right, so we have two trading divisions. Our Maverick Trading, been around since '97. It's where I started. I actually started at Maverick Trading myself. MaverickTrading.com. We've got information on trading. We got some trading articles. If you do want to look into becoming a trader for us, there's an application. And then we have a separate currencies division. So at Maverick Trading, we trade stock options and index options. And MaverickCurrencies.com, we do Forex, crypto, and futures. So depending on which one you're interested in, go to one of those websites, and there's plenty of information.
Awesome. Well, look, man, I'll get those links from you as well after this, so we can have them down below. And again, thank you so much, Rob, for spending some time with us today.
All right, thanks, Alex. See you, Rowan.
Thank you for finishing today's episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment below of one of the takeaways that you are going to implement into your own trading. And if you happen to be listening on a podcast platform, go ahead and leave us a review and let us know what you enjoy about today's episode, because that does go a long way in helping us continue to grow. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.